You are listening to
Hey, Me No Mind
with show host Wood.
Welcome back to the show. A good friend of the show, actually. Super lightweight, undefeated, 18-0, Adidas sponsored boxer, Sonny Fredrickson. What's going on, man?
What's up, man? It's going good.
Good to talk with you again. I don't think we spoke since you won the WBA Federball title, but congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And congratulations with now being named to this fight that's coming up next Friday night on ShoBox. I know you had the other situation that fell apart, so I'm glad that it didn't take forever for it to happen again.
Oh yeah, I'm real happy about finally getting back on ShoBox. Hopefully he doesn't drop out, but I'm pretty sure he's gonna come to fight.
All right, so let's go back to the winning the belt down in Medellin, Colombia. How did the fight go for you? I mean, I know you weren't going for a knockout, but for it to end in a knockout, how'd it feel doing it in that fashion?
My plan was to really just come out and box and see what he had. And when I caught him with the right hand in the first round, I dropped him on the whole snaps, and I was like, I knew that I could get him out of there. Just I had to just be patient, keep being patient, like I was, because I was being patient, tricking him in and baiting him in and hitting him with big shots. And I dropped him every single round. And finally, in the third round, I knocked him out with a body shot.
Where do you think that patience came from? I noticed that you weren't in a rush. You seemed to sit back and let everything happen, but you were doing things to make it happen. I hadn't seen that in some earlier fights. Is that just part of your maturation as a fighter?
Yeah, just being in there, having more fights and knowing that I can't rush a knockout because knockouts come naturally. I'm saying it's just something that like you just go over time. You start fighting better opponents, and if you're searching for the knockout, you're never going to knock nobody out.
So how did it feel? You had went into a 3-fight stretch there where you were going to decisions, and now I think you're on 3 straight fights that ended with stoppages. So how has it been getting back to flashing a little bit of power?
It's just it feels good. Like those fights that I didn't stop nobody, that it made me better. I'm saying a good learning experience. Just going those rounds and going 8 rounds, all those 8 rounders. I'm saying then I had 2 fights scheduled for 10 rounders. So then I was like, I know I can go 10 rounds. I went 8 rounds 3 times. So I never went the distance again after I went 8. But I mean, it feels good just displaying power. Yeah, I mean, I showed power in those other fights, but I just didn't do it smart as I have been doing it.
All right. So looking at Ergashev, Shohjahon Ergashev is your opponent. He's undefeated, I think 10-0 with maybe 10 knockouts.
Yeah, he's 10-0, 10 knockouts.
A little bit shorter than you. Looks like a pretty thick guy for 140. But I'm looking at his record. The record of his combined record of his opponents, I believe, is about 65, 65-2. Only 3 of his fights have been beyond the second round. So I mean, obviously, looking
the combined records of the opponents he fought.
Yeah, 65, 65-2. So
65 wins, 2 losses.
65 wins, 65 losses, and 2 draws.
Oh, okay. I was thinking that's probably the wrong boxer.
Nah. He's a southpaw. How are you approaching this fight?
I've been getting great work. And I just know that he's gonna come out and his plans for all the other fights is the gun. I'm saying he's never been in the ring with anybody that's gonna fight back. Just looking at his videos online, he's never been in there with anyone like me. And I just want to know what he's gonna be like when I'm there in the 3rd, 4th round, and I'm still here. Is he gonna break down mentally? I'm saying because I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be punching him back.
Yeah, I looked at the. I think it was his last fight that was in New York, Marcus Hawthorne or something. And yeah, I didn't see the guy really. I didn't even really think he hit that guy that hard. Definitely not on the first knockdown. So.
Oh, that left hand, yeah. I think he laid down. You know what I'm saying? I think everyone he fought laid down to him because they've been scared. And I'm not intimidated by him at all.
So, being that he's a southpaw, have you fought a southpaw yet?
Yes, I fought a southpaw in Columbus, and I stopped the dude in the fifth round. He quit in the corner.
Okay, so how was that changed training camp for you? In preparing for another southpaw.
Just pretty much. I've never had a problem with southpaws, even in the amateur. So it's. I mean, we just trained them, move to the left more. You know what I'm saying, and I can move to the right too. Also, a lot of people don't move to the right. I can fight a southpaw, move to the right, move it to the left. Just keep training like we're fighting for a southpaw. I mean, just normal stuff. Just working on moving to the left and getting away from his left hand.
No, I know last week when I was trying to come up and check you out in person, you actually left, I think you went over to New York for a couple of days to get in some sparring. Was that trip intended to like expose you to just better competition for sparring, or was it specifically to work on anything for southpaw?
Yeah, we was going out there and getting some sparring with I forget his name. He was down. He was down in my camp in Toledo, and saying he couldn't make it back, so we had to go there and get some sparring with him. I forget his name, though. I can give it to you later.
Okay. So I know Coach Wright. I know he studies tirelessly, man, as far as watching boxers and also as far as working on his training techniques and improving in his area. Is there anything about this kid that he's called out, a strength of his, that, he's went over with you to be mindful of throughout the fight?
Yeah, the only thing we're worried about, not even really worried, the only thing we have to really be mindful about and take caution from is the left hand. And you can't really win a fight with just one hand. It's going to be hard to. And I think that's all he has, the left hand.
Yeah, I was getting ready to ask. I didn't see him doing a whole lot offensively with his jab or his offhand. Looked like more or less he was using it as a rangefinder. Would you expect anything to come from the right hand?
I mean, it could. I mean, every fight is different. Maybe he tries to set up a left hand, and he tries to set up his jab hand, his right hand, more because he knows that that's all he has is his left. So he tries to, confuse me in the beginning with his right, so he can lower me for his left hand. But it's not going to work.
Being that you were getting prepared through the holiday season, man, was it any issues for you with staying focused in the gym or weight issues, or how'd you work that out?
I mean, it was easy to stay focused, and when my weight's been good, and I just fought, and I only took like a week off. The whole week I took off, I ran 4 days, so my weight's been down. It's pretty good now. I'm saying it's already on 48.
Now, back to the New York thing for a second. A lot of times, trainers or coaches don't always make it to sparring. Was Coach Wright, did he attend, was he able to go to New York with you, or were you out there by yourself?
I went out there by myself for about 3 days.
Okay. So, Ergashev is coming out of the Kronk Gym. That's a world-renowned, boxing gym. Although Manny Stewart's no longer with us, but Javon Hill Stewart is taking over. But it's but Glass City has some world-ranked fighters. Obviously has an undefeated lightweight world champion. Do you think that kind of your experience at Glass City and what you get exposed to in there, do you think that takes away any chance for Ergashev to have an advantage, by this training at the Kronk Gym?
No, I think my gym is just as good or even better than his gym now. You know what I'm saying? The Kronk used to be a good gym back in the day. And it's still an alright gym now, but it's not what it used to be. And, Toledo boxing's taking over boxing. You know what I'm saying? It's a big city for boxing now.
How was it feeling for you this time? You just mentioned a couple minutes ago with the fight being finalized and everything, at least a good 5 to 6 weeks out. How has that had an impact on you? Just giving you a peace of mind going into this fight. How has that been with not having any worries of anything happening this time?
Like anything falling out?
Yeah.
It's good to know. You know what I'm saying? They want to fight me. We got time now, and I mean, they're not gonna tell us this far away, and for a fight to pull out. You know what I'm saying? So we've been training hard, and it's just good to know that we're finally getting on Showtime.
Anything through this? You seen any growth in yourself over these last couple of fights?
I've seen a lot. You know what I'm saying? Just more patience, thinking more in the ring. And I think I've definitely gotten stronger over the last year, working with my strength and conditioning coach, and I think that has a big part to do with me getting more knockouts too.
All right. It seems like this might be the first time in a while where you've kind of been the B-side in an event. Here you are now. I mean, it's a Salida Promotions event. You're facing a Salida fighter, and it's an undefeated fighter. We know boxing is full of questionable decisions and whatnot. Any pressure here for you to feel like to do your best not to let this go into the judges' hands?
I don't think it's any pressure. My last fight, I came in on the B side when I went to Columbia, and I feel no pressure. I'm saying I just know that I'm gonna go in there. I'm gonna perform to the best of my ability. I want a knockout, but I'm not gonna go in there and get searching for it too much. I'm saying because that's when you don't get one. So I'm just gonna go in there and do my thing, and if it comes, it comes. I plan on knocking them out though.
All right. Now, in the last fight, man, I mean, we've joked before that you kind of keep it really basic with the ring, with your kit that you wear in the ring. You got a little flashy in the last fight with the little gold and whatnot. Anything planned by Adidas for you in this outing, or you just going with something you already have?
Actually, before I signed with Adidas, I had that rival uniform made for my fight on ShoBox, and we agreed that we would fight on a ShoBox card with that uniform. So we have to go with the rival this time, but it's the same color as my Adidas.
Okay. All right. Now you are usually a little bit more laid back. Like to let your hands do your talking or your action in the ring speak for you. But I did notice the other day that you posted on social media that that you were knocking this guy out. I just was wondering, did the experience from the sparring in New York, or has there been any words exchanged with this guy that's making you be a little bit more vocal?
A lot of people from his country, commented on my stuff, all over my social media site. So I was just, I'm just letting them know that I'm going to knock the guy out now. You know what I'm saying? I'm just ready. I'm ready for the fight. I'm well prepared, and I believe that I will knock him out.
Got you. Just two more questions. One, you just mentioned, Robert, that you might, before I started recording this, you mentioned that you thought about trying to make it up there for for Robert's fight against Javier Fortuna. I was listening in today on the press conference or the phone conference. What's your thoughts on on that matchup against Fortuna?
I think a lot of people think that Fortuna is like a bum, or he's not on his level. But Fortuna was a two-time world champion. I think this is a great fight for Robert. And I think Robert will stop him, though. You know what I'm saying? And I think he'll stop him later in the match.
Yeah, I was intrigued by this matchup, but I have to admit, I don't think Fortuna's a bum by any stretch of the imagination, and I also think he's an awkward guy. And I mean, he's been down before, and maybe even stopped once, I think. But
stopped by Jason Sosa.
Right. So it seemed like it's a good chance to face a dude who. I don't know. He just seems to be a little awkward to me, but he seems like he takes enough risk or has enough openings where Robert could get back into the could get a stoppage.
Yeah, I think Robert can stop him. You know, I think the size of Robert, being so much bigger than him, that can play a role into the fight later down the rounds. But I feel like he might come out. He'd be a live opponent for the first few rounds. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
To the size advantage catches up.
Okay. With you at 18-0, doing your best to move to 19-0 and add that 13th KO. I mean, I feel like you're really getting yourself into the big picture, the discussion at the world or at the contender level, So I just wanted to mention I want to say a couple of names at 140. And just get what your reaction is to a couple of guys.
Like you want me to say would I fight him or what?
No, just any thoughts that come to mind. Whatever your first thought is when I say the name.
Okay.
Rances Barthélemy.
He's slick. He's really small, and I think that's the fight I take.
Kirill Relik.
That's the one that fought Barthélemy last time, right?
Yeah, I think that the rematch is being put together though.
Yeah. I think he beat Barthélemy. Did you watch the fight?
Yeah, I was actually at that one. I think I scored it barely for Barthélemy, but I could see Relik winning it. I don't know. For some reason, man, I just think that those two guys could be in your future somehow. One of them.
Yeah. I mean, I think Relik, he just comes forward a lot. He's a good fighter, but I don't think that Barthélemy had the pop to really hurt him like that. I mean, he did drop him with a body shot, but I mean, he's a good fighter.
All right. What about Ivan Baranchyk?
I mean, he didn't really look too good his last few fights, you know what I'm saying? But he can punch, but he hasn't really been looking too good.
All right. Regis Prograis is another name out there.
Yeah, he looks real strong. He looks real tough. Looks like that'd be a good fight.
One more. We'll go with Amir Imam.
Yeah, I think he's good. I mean, I think he's good. I think got some good punch behind his right hand. He got a tough fight with he's fighting Jose Ramirez, right?
I believe so.
I mean, long as he can go to 12 and not tie it down like he did against
Granados,
I think he could win that fight. But I think it might play out. I think it might play out the same way Granados played out.
All right, just my last thought. I'm looking at the WBC right now, and a guy like Cletus Selden is in there in the top 15. You're not in there. You're not ranked by them in the top 15. That irk you?
I don't even know who Cletus Selden is.
Okay, I just know in talking to Mike Leonardi, he was kind of vocal about not liking the guy.
Cletus, the guy. I know you're talking about the guy they just lost on.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago.
Oh yeah, man, he's horrible.
Exactly. All right, man. Well, look, man. Thanks for getting with me tonight. Like I said, I just wanted to get some comments from you. I know it's a big moment, for you to be on Showtime, and Any thoughts on kind of like right now with it hasn't been the best run recently for some Rock Nation guys. Any pressure on you to kind of go out here and open up 2018 for the roster?
You know, I plan on coming out and making a big statement. You know, to 2018. You know, it's my time's coming up soon. You know, hopefully by the end of the year. You know what I'm saying, or maybe at the end of the year I could fight for the title. Or, you know, I'll make enough noise, you know, it's around the corner.
Okay, all right. Hey, well, best of luck, man. I'm sorry I can't make it next week, but I'm definitely going to be tuning in, and, you know, I wish you the best in there.
All right, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Take care, man.
All right, take care.